Okay, so first I just want to update everyone that might not have received the update, but Michelle Bernstein is no longer with the Office of Community Engagement. Big loss for Pikesville, I think. Big loss for this committee. Um, she's actually now with the County Department of Government Reform and Strategic Initiatives. And so her replacement, his name is Zach Brasso. He comes from one of the Eastern districts. Just started, I think, 2 weeks ago. So waiting to connect with him to, bring him up to date on what's going on with our committee here and what I know about what's going on in Pikesville. He did receive the invitation for tonight, so he might be joining us. If not, I'm sure, or I hope that we'll see him at some of our future meetings and get to meet him. And then next quick point for the welcome, I just want to set some quick behavior guidelines for our meetings. Just as facilitator, and mainly I ask that you just demonstrate respect for everyone in the meeting. So this means muting yourself or staying on mute when you're not speaking, just so that we can avoid people talking over each other and accidentally interrupting each other, and that includes me, the facilitator. So note in meeting words of behavior, and please listen to others when they're speaking, and be aware of the time we have together so that we can hear from as many people as possible and stick to the agenda as best as possible. So like I said, we have a really packed agenda today, so we can get right to it. We're going to start with an update from Gane, and then we'll move on to our main event, I guess, which is the project summary worksheets. So Gane, if you want to get us started, that would be great.
Yep, yeah. Thanks, Alex. Good evening, everyone. So I just wanted to give you an update on where we are with identifying a fiscal agent. As you know, as part of the guidelines that Alex shared with you a while ago, one requirement is for the county to identify a fiscal agent. So the fiscal agent will actually sponsor and manage the projects that are identified by you all. So planning has been talking with the Greater Baltimore Chamber of Commerce to fulfill that role. And I am excited to announce that the chamber has graciously accepted, to fulfill that role. So they will be the steward and the project implementer. We know it's a big task to take on. And for that reason, the county will be funding a part-time project manager to support the chamber in the implementation of the priorities. The funding will be coming from the countywide improvement account. We anticipate the chamber to submit an application by the end of this month. Application, as you know, can take up to 8 weeks to approve, and after approval, the chamber will be able to advertise the position around March and hire a part-time position in April. Do you have any questions? No questions? All right.
Oh,
Alex.
I see Mel raised his hand. Go ahead.
That's a quick. Thank you. That's interesting news. Is this money from the countywide improvement fund? Is that independent of the $251,000?
No, it's not. So this is money coming from the county. It's separate from the Pikesville money. So
that's what I just asked.
Yeah.
So it's separate from the $151,000.
That's correct.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, so if there aren't any other questions, we can get to the worksheets. Oh, Deb, is it for Gane, your question? Okay, go ahead. Thank you.
Okay, I know there are a bunch of different types of fiscal sponsorship that have different responsibilities given to the fiscal sponsor. How will this relationship look as far as responsibility and hands-on involvement in the project by the chamber?
So the fiscal agent will be working closely with the county and also with other partners, meaning if there is capacity for any of the applicants to be a fiscal agent, they can take on that role, but the chamber will be the main fiscal agent with the APC and the priorities.
But are they the lead in the project, or is APC lead in the project?
I guess it will be on a case-by-case basis, and it depends on the application. If the APC is, or the applicant has the capacity to be the project manager, the chamber will be working closely with that project manager.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
Tom, go ahead.
It'll work. It'll work.
I guess there is some kind of contractual agreement between the chamber then and the county, and for all I know, this group to basically monitor the funds.
Right, so this group is advisory to the county. The grant agreement that we're gonna be signing with the chamber will be between the chamber and the county. Did that answer your question?
Tom? Okay.
I guess the only question then would be, will we be able to see if there are non-confidential portions of that agreement? Is that going to be a public agreement?
Again, that agreement will be between the county and the chamber, and the agreement is just for the part-time project manager that the chamber is hiring.
But the chamber is going to be the fiscal agent for controlling the funds that will be allocated to various projects.
Right, and there will be, you know, regular reports with
Okay.
the county. Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mel, go
Yes,
ahead.
Mel?
About management. I understand about the fiscal agent, and it's very important that a nonprofit be there. The master plan in the goals section clearly states that the Greater Baltimore Chamber and the plan committee will implement the plan, end quote. Your response.
Okay, what is your question? I think I missed your first part.
I'm sorry. So the first part was, I understand why a nonprofit has to be a fiscal agent. I got it. In addition, I point out that the master plan legislation in goals, in that paragraph, says the Greater Baltimore Chamber and the APC, the plan committee, will, quote, implement plan, end quote.
Okay, so can we, I think there is an echo as I'm talking. I think maybe we need to mute Mel.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Hold on.
Okay, that's fine. Yeah, so that was the initial, that was the intent. And I think this is just because we saw that there is some type of capacity issues with the current organization, which is APC. And I think bringing a support just to help with the implementation is just what the county is trying to do. That doesn't mean that the project manager will not be working with the APC. So there will be a close relationship between the APC and that project manager.
Thank you very much. Partners, important word. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, there aren't any more questions. Thank you, Gane.
Yeah, sure.
We can move on to the next point of the agenda, which is the project summary worksheets. So I'll quickly go through the process that we're going to be following for the worksheets. We're going to be taking it one worksheet at a time. So first we'll listen to a project worksheet presentation by subcommittee chair. We'll then hear the organization subcommittee's recommendation for that worksheet, and then we'll vote whether or not to recommend the project to planning for the use of county funds. And then we'll repeat that process for every worksheet that we have. And we have 6 worksheets that we need to go through. We're going to start off with the streetscaping and design worksheets. We'll then go on to the economic vitality ones, and then we'll do the marketing and economic worksheets. And I just want to remind everyone that the vote is open to all APC voting members. If you're not sure if you're a voting member, let me know. I did send that out by email though, so you should be able to see if your name is there or not. We also have 2 voting members that could not attend tonight. One of them is Neville, and Neil is here as his proxy. And we also have Ruth, who unfortunately couldn't make it either, and she provided me with her vote ahead of time as an absentee vote. And I accepted both of those. We're also going to be voting using the poll function on WebEx. I'll show you how to use that when we get there. So I think we can get started. So we'll start with the, like I said, streetscaping and design. We'll start with the placemaking consultant and project manager worksheet. Kristen, I believe you're presenting both worksheets for the streetscape and design. I just want to remind you that you have 5 minutes for the presentation, and you can, I know you want to share your screen, so you can go ahead and do that.
Thank you, Alex. Yes, I have one slideshow that kind of encompasses both. And I have a little timer, so to keep me on track here. All right, I'm going to share my screen. And then... Can everyone see that?
Yeah, looks good.
Perfect. Okay, so this is for both of our projects. It is a placemaking consultant and project manager to implement that, and a mural to kick it off. What does Pikesville get out of this? The placemaking consultant will develop a unified theme and identity for the Pikesville corridor that will establish its theme, its vibe, give it a whole new sense of life. The project manager will take that plan and that concept and turn it into reality. All the little bits and bobs that need to be done, work with the county, stuff like that. That's what it's done in a nutshell. So I'll go through the steps. Step 1, this is what the design consultant will do. Community engagement. This is the important part where everything is based from community input. There will be public charrettes and online forums that engage the community and businesses and stakeholders to get their information and their vision about how they see Pikesville and how they envision it. This is what a public charrette looks like. It's a lot of just people from the community getting together, putting their ideas together in an organized way. The second step, the consultant takes that community input and uses their expertise to synthesize that into a master creative design plan for Pikesville. That design plan includes a theme, a logo, and a color scheme, signage, utilitarian design concepts, and wayfinding as public art. Here are a few examples of how that happens, some case studies. This is a Wrigley Village in Long Beach, California. Their design consultant took colors from the community and community input, synthesized that into 5 street banner designs based off community input. The community loved it so much, they asked for them to be turned into murals. Another example is Catonsville. Catonsville, their big thing was music. They constantly wanted to promote that they were a music town. So music waves were incorporated into their new theme and their new logo and color scheme. Here is design as placemaking as public as wayfinding. Community of Waverly wanted a meetup spot or a gateway marker into their community. So a large W is fabricated to be as the gateway to Waverly. It's wayfinding as well as public art. Here are some playful benches that were useful, but still playful and kept with the color scheme of a public library. And it really made it a destination and drew people to that spot, which Pikesville desperately needs. Step 3, now that we have this cool master plan with a whole new color scheme and new vibe for Pikesville, we need to make it a reality. The project manager and installation manager will take that comprehensive plan and work with the county and to get it done. They will work with the installers, the code enforcement, permit acquisitions, any grant money that has to be acquired, things like that, and monitor the fabrication while it actually happens. And then the last bit of it is a mural. This would be, we've already acquired some funds. If that stays with us, it's still on the fence how that goes along. But a mural would really be an eye-catching piece that could really draw people to Pikesville. Something that's Instagram worthy, is activates the person, the viewer, and is an instant, makes a statement and piques curiosity to that store or town. This would be a really great jump and punch to start off kick off the entire just revitalization of the town. And that's it. Thank you. There we go.
Thanks, Kristen. Does anyone have any questions for Kristen? Mel, you can go ahead. And then we'll go to Howard.
Don't count against my time. I just wanted to remark how wonderful that presentation was. And I certainly am not of the capacity, as has been mentioned, we have a little bit of lacking capacity, but not apparently from Kristen. But I kind of feel like the whole world's a tuxedo and I'm a pair of brown shoes. So with that said, just a couple of questions, Kristen. Great presentation. This sounds like the fruition is a long way off and not accurate, the total fruition.
Do you mean the? Okay, good. You're muted.
Mel, I muted you. Yeah, go ahead, Kristen.
Mel, do you mean the fruition of the installation and the project manager part of it? Is that what you mean?
I thought you had separated that, the installation of all the W's that you demonstrated in the wayfinding signs and the banners and the murals, et cetera, the installation. That fruition is a long way off, yes or no? For how long is it?
Yes, it very well could be way off, but it's still something that needs manpower behind it to get it done. I mean,
get it started. Yeah, get it started.
Exactly. So yes, the timeline might be off, but you got to have
Yeah.
someone dedicated to it.
Now, as far as I guess I'm thinking you got banners on lampposts. Correct me if anything I say is wrong. You got proposing banners on lampposts and wayfinding signs on various pieces of property. And I think you all have permission of the property owner for that mural. Is that accurate, first of all? And do you have permission? Do you have permission from the property owners for the lampposts and the other things that you're going to install? Do you have permission from those property owners?
No, that would be just ahead of the curve here, because we don't even know what's going to be involved in the master plan before
Get
we
started. Get started is the summation. Is the summation
Exactly.
is get started.
Yep.
Okay, great. Thanks, Mel. Howard, I see your hand is raised. Do you want to go ahead?
This proposal is extremely well done, very professional. I'm really impressed, as well as the presentation here this evening. I don't know who did it, whether Kristen did it or did it with somebody else, but it's really sets the stage, a high bar for all the others. I'm concerned, the only concern that I have is under project manager number 2, preferred qualifications, A, C, and D. A is that it be a Pikesville-based individual. C is experience working with business owners in the community, and D is active in Pikesville community organizations. It strikes me that that's very limiting. You have talked apparently with any number of potential consultants and may know that there is an individual or individuals from the Pikesville community who satisfy these preferred qualifications, but Pikesville is a relatively small community in the Baltimore in the entire Baltimore metropolitan area. And even I don't know that we should be limited to that. We want to make sure that we really get a quality consultant who has had experience in this, and can really do a bang up job. And I'm concerned about limiting the pool of applicants by saying it should be someone who is Pikesville based and has worked with the business community in Pikesville, and is active in Pikesville community organizations. I think that's too limiting.
So, yes, to what you're saying, Howard, here I'm looking at it now. 100%, you're absolutely right. I think for the consultant, it's too limiting to say someone specifically from Pikesville. And I believe it's broken up in the project. But number 3, the first one's A through D, are for the placemaking consultant, or actually, we say Baltimore based for the consultant. The project manager, we got a little more local. Let's see, do we have that? I don't believe qualifications. Right, so the qualifications, that's A through F, that's for the project manager. We went more local with that because they're going to be working with local governments, with the chamber, with people from the area. I mean, that we can open that up, but that's why we specified the project manager would be a little more localized and know the people, whereas the consultant could just be Baltimore based itself. Because yes, I don't want to limit it to just the consultant to just Pikesville. I agree. There's a lot of creativity in Baltimore that we can tap into. Yeah, and I think we should.
Thank you for that clarification. I had confused the consultant with the project manager, but I still have, I would agree that the preference would be the project manager would be someone from Pikesville and has these qualifications, but I don't want us to limit it because some good people might be beyond Pikesville who can do the job even better than somebody from Pikesville. So again, I raise the same question with the program manager, but not to the same extent as the consultant.
And I agree, and I mean that brings a good point. So something like that, let's say everyone loves the project, but everyone's in agreement. Oh, we want to expand a little on a couple tweaks, tweak a couple of these. Is that something we can do, Alex? Like, do we have to do this to a T? Is there?
No, I don't think so. I think the general idea is there. I think that when it comes to, drafting like a job description, for example, for these different positions, whether it be for the consultant or the project manager, if that's something you want to do with even your subcommittee and then have the APC review it, like I think that's fine. I think if we went into that detail for all the worksheets, we would get through one worksheet in a whole meeting. So yeah, I think it's good to hear those questions though. So thank you, Howard. And yeah, I'm not sure, Mel, if your hand is raised from your previous question or if you had something else that you wanted to add. Oh, you're on mute, Mel.
How are you? Okay. Now this is a little different. That Howard kind of stimulated my thinking. I'm a bit confused. Howard makes some great points about that and responded very well, actually, that not every T needs to be crossed tonight. That I just heard. So that's good. And I think that's appropriate, that not every T in any proposal has to be crossed tonight by the agency. But I'm confused between the presentation at the very top of the meeting about project manager, or not the project, maybe I'm confusing language. So the agent is different than this project manager. Is that accurate?
Yes. What it is the project manager for the chamber as a fiscal agent is a whole other set of rules, because there is a grant processing that needs to be done. Generally, when there's a grant, there is a fiscal agent fee, and that's for admin on that. That's all the admin paperwork, just because there's deadlines to be met, reports that have to be given. There's a lot to it. The project,
so who will be the?
It's different than this. This is more of like, think about a general contract. someone who's like, okay, we got to get this bench built, and we use this fabrication company. It's in this color scheme, and we got to get approvals from the county. And there needs someone to coordinate all of that together. That's what the project manager. Otherwise, if there's no project manager for that part of it, all you have is a bench as an idea, and it just sits there until someone
And-
actually puts in the work.
Consultant, as Howard, I think, mentioned, the consultant different than this project manager, correct?
Yes, the consultant is the person who comes up with the design that,
Got it.
okay, we're going to have yellow benches, or everything will be a flower or something like that, something that from the community input. Mhm.
And who will be the fiscal agent of that?
That's all the chamber.
Chamber will be the fiscal agent as well for that. I do have a little bit of thought, recommendation, consideration. I'm a bit concerned about potential conflict of interest. When Howard and I started all this, we were very concerned about perception of conflict of interest. And perhaps it might be wise to include language that would preclude anyone who is an eligible voting member of the PrAP paid by these funds. Does anybody have any other comments about that? Just the thought I just had.
Do you mean because the chamber is a voting member now?
Now, anybody get, well, the chamber will be the fiscal agent and pay whomever the project manager is or whomever the consultant is. But those people who do receive the remuneration should not be a voting member or have a relationship with a voting member of the.
Okay, I mean, if we get to that point, we can certainly discuss it and see what's appropriate or not. I just don't think we're there yet.
Okay, does anybody else have any thoughts about that?
I don't think we're going to explore that question right now, Mel. I feel like it's outside of what we're trying to look at right now. I'm not saying it's a bad question. I just think that we could stick to the worksheet itself and not, go into.
I think that's an important piece. I think that's an important public relations consideration. Thank you, Al.
Thank you, Mel. All right. Any other questions for Kristen? So Kristen, we had both worksheets there. So Larry, if you're ready, we can hear the organization subcommittee recommendation for both worksheets.
Oh, you're talking about for both worksheets, the supplementary memorial one too?
Yes.
Okay, I'm gonna start with, well, let me start with one because they are sort of separate, but somewhat connected too, because some might vote for one, but not the other. Is that okay, Kristen?
Right.
Okay, so I'm pasting in the chat also, and I'll share my screen. And I just wanted to remind everybody that this isn't a motion, this isn't a declaration, this is purely a recommendation. So the APC isn't voting on this recommendation. It's purely what we came up with in the organization committee, but it's not binding in any frame of reference, essentially. So essentially our recommendation for the placemaking consultant and project is as follows. The organization subcommittee recommends that the APC request an estimated amount of funding from the county for the placemaking consultant and project manager project, indicating to the county that the exact ask amount will be determined after a placemaking consultant has been selected. The APC will submit the 2 quotes that have been secured to the county planning department. Now we say 2 quotes, that doesn't preclude additional, more than 2 quotes. And the reason we say an estimated amount is we did want we're recommending that the APC authorizes the ask, but we won't know what the exact ask is going to be until the quotes, until the responses to the RFP come in. Do you all want to discuss that one first and vote on that before we go to the next one, or do you want to?
We can. Does anyone have any questions for Larry or the organization subcommittee about this recommendation?
I just want to clarify, this is it, okay. So I'm sorry. What exactly is this? This is organization subcommittee recommends that the APC request an estimated amount. It's basically, is it saying for or against?
It's saying for.
For, yeah.
Thank you, sorry, it's been a long day.
That's okay.
Okay, so if there are no questions, actually maybe Larry, instead of hearing the organization subcommittee recommendation on the second one, we'll just bring that one to a vote, and then we can hear the recommendation for the second one. So this is for the placemaking consultant and project manager worksheet. Like I said in my email and you know, earlier in this meeting, we're going to be using the WebEx poll in order to compile your votes today. I just want to remind everyone once again that only APC voting members can vote. So I'm going to get that poll launched. Please be patient with me. It's my first time using this polling method on WebEx. My previous job was on Zoom. So just one moment, and then let me know if you have a hard time figuring out how to work this. I'm here to guide you. So 1 second, it's just loading. Jason, you have a question?
Can you vote for more than one, or is it?
So for everyone, you'll vote yes or no, whether you recommend the project to the Department of Planning, and you can vote yes or no for there's no limit on the amount of projects that you can.
Okay, thank you. So we can vote for everyone, yes or no. Okay.
Yeah, that's right. 1 second, this little poll thing. Of course. All right, I'm gonna give it another minute. If it doesn't work, we'll use the chat. Promise you, I tested it out earlier today and it was working. See, I'll try one more time. Gane, do you have experience with Slido?
No, I was just Googling it. I don't.
Yeah, it's just not loading. Like I see like just keep spinning. All right, so we'll go ahead and use the chat. Does everyone know how to use the chat? So you can send me your vote. So you can go to the drop-down list that says everyone. If you click on that.
Where? Where? I don't see
So
anything.
in the chat, do you know how to open the
chat? I see chat. Thank you.
Okay, great. So see chat. Do you see where it says to everyone? It'll be on the right-hand side.
I see it. Thank you.
Okay, great. Is everyone seeing that? And then, so if you click on everyone, you'll see a drop-down list of everyone that's in this meeting. If you find my name, I should be towards the top. If you click on that, then you can send me via the chat your vote.
And will we see everybody's votes?
No, so it's going to be anonymized. I was asked to make it anonymous. And so that's the process we'll follow. So if everyone's comfortable with the chat and if everyone can see my name in the to field, we'll go with that. I'm sorry that the poll function didn't work. So would someone like to make a motion then to recommend the placemaking consultant and project manager worksheet to the Department of Planning for the use of county funds?
Motion.
Do we have a second? Okay, thank you, Dad. So the question then is on the adoption of the motion to recommend the worksheet to the Department of Planning. If you're in favor of this, please type yes in the chat. If not, please type no, and I'm going to be compiling the votes and I'll let you know what the result is. Oh, hold on. Leslie?
Hi. So I didn't understand. I haven't been to many meetings before this. I couldn't do it.
She's not a voter.
So I don't think I can vote. I misunderstood and thought, excuse me, I thought that when I know I'm out and I'll have to wait for the next opportunity to ever be able to vote again within the group. But I just thought it was for that one time. I didn't realize it was for all.
It is, yeah. Thanks for clarifying that. And Mel, please don't interrupt others when they're speaking.
Yeah, I'm disappointed. So does that mean I have to wait a whole year until we,
So we'll reassess it after 6 months. Yeah.
6 months? Okay,
Mhm.
thank you.
Thanks. So give me a second. I'm just going to go through the chat to compile the results. It won't be long. So I think I got everyone's vote. Let me see if anyone's missing.
Alex, you have some votes in the chat
Yeah.
that everybody can see.
Okay. Yeah, Mel, I don't see your vote here.
I'm a teeny bit on some of the responses, as I said. That's okay. It's a great proposal, but a little bit uncomfortable. But in the spirit of collegiality, I'll abstain.
You're abstaining? Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. So I think everyone else here has voted, and so the motion carries. We have a majority that are in favor of recommending the worksheet to the Department of Planning. So if we could move on to the next one then, which is the supplemental mural. Larry, if you want to go ahead and share the organization subcommittee's recommendation on that one, and then we'll vote on that one. Oh, Larry, you're on mute.
Thank you. I just pasted it in the chat. Just a short and sweet. The organization subcommittee recommends that the APC request funding from the county for the supplemental mural budget project. And that's for the murals that Kristen talked about in the PowerPoint presentation.
Does anyone have any questions for Larry? Okay, I see a couple hands. Jason, I don't know if your hand was there previously or if you just forgot to lower it.
I forgot to lower it, sorry.
Okay, no problem. So Tom, Neil, and then Mel. Tom, go ahead. Tom, you're on mute.
I've been on mute for a long time. I'm a little confused at this point. There's a recommendation that we hire a consultant to figure out what to do. And there's a second request, and I'm already a little bit concerned because I have no idea what this individual is going to recommend. It may be a $20 million project. It won't be, but you know. So now we are talking about exactly what there was a mural which turned out to be more money, as I remember, than what was anticipated. Am I correct in that? Kristen, just nod your head if I'm correct. So what are we actually voting for in addition to that mural in this request? And I'll
There is
mute
not,
myself.
there is nothing addition. It is literally just extra money for the wall we identified is the wall by the zips. It's that, and it's just a larger wall. And once we got a couple of quotes from muralists, it was more than we anticipated. So we thought, well, if we're going to do one, just do it big, you know. So that's why we've already were awarded some funds from the Spruce Up grant, but we wanted to really do a good one for the first mural to make an impact. And that's what this is. It's simply just to cover the extra space, wall space.
And how many dollars is this? I'm sorry, I don't have the number in front of me.
So if the Spruce Up grant goes through or stays with us, this would be supplemental is about 13,000.
Thank you, Tom. Neil, you can go ahead.
Will this mural funding include the requisite, I don't know what the right word is, construction monies, since we cannot touch existing walls?
Wait, Jesus.
I
Jesus.
what do you? I don't understand exactly.
This is a National Historic Property. Of course, you're aware of that.
Oh, that's not at the
Um,
Armory. This is not at the Armory. This is at the Zips wall on Church. We've already contacted the owner.
My bad. I
Yeah.
didn't understand that.
Yeah, it's only one mural and it's just a privately owned wall. That's all.
Okay, and sorry, quickly, before I get to you, Mel, Mark, I see you just joined us. I just wanted to welcome you to the meeting. I'm not familiar with who you are. And if you'd like to introduce yourself, I wanted to give you the opportunity to do so. I don't know if you're still there. Why don't we go to Mel? I'll go to your question, and then Mark, if you want to introduce yourself or say hi in the chat, feel free to do so. Mel, you can go ahead. You're on mute.
Okay, there we go. Okay, Tom answered or got the first question about the cost. So it's $13,000 above the 10,000. So roughly it's 23 grand for the project. And again, Kristen, this is a long way off, or how long it will off is it?
No, it should be done in about a year. The whole thing.
A year.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's a way off. Okay. I think that was my only question. Thank you.
All right, thanks everyone. So we'll just go through the same process then. Do I have someone that would like to make a motion then to recommend the mural supplemental worksheet to the Department of Planning for the use of county funds? Thank you. And do I have a second? Thank you. So the question is on the adoption then of the motion to recommend the worksheet. All those in favor, you can type yes in the chat, and all those against, sorry, you can type no, and I'll just follow the same process. Give me a few minutes to compile the votes. Thank you.
You have a question from Jim Paulson.
Oh, sorry, Jim, I missed
Yeah.
that. You can go ahead.
My question is, I'm not sure my vote is being registered here. I'm placing my vote in the box below everyone.
Yeah, it's working. I'm seeing your vote.
Okay, good. Thank
Thank
you.
you for checking. Thanks. Okay, so the motion carries in this one as well. We also have a majority. So that's it for the streetscape and design worksheets. Thank you, Kristen. And everyone else that's on your subcommittee. We'll now move on to the economic vitality worksheets. Mel, I believe you're presenting both of these, and we can start off with the Pikes Peak Promenade.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I won't be too long. You have the kind of proposal in bureaucraties, and I'm not as facetious as Kristen in producing a good production. I her. I would just do a little narrative. I think it's a pretty straightforward proposal, and it's as Kristen's is similarly. It's a step forward to begin And the goal of this, as Howard rightly named this project, was the Pike Peak Promenade when we started. And I think it's a great name. So it is basically the exploration of establishing a pedestrian-friendly walkway parallel to Reisterstown Road, beginning, as Dean suggested, from the State Police Courtyard, which is a lovely eastern entrance, extending west into the Pikesville Library property, across that and across beside the Revenue Authority parking lot next to the library, and then crosses Walker Avenue along Foley Lane into the First Watch property, and then into the giant parking lot at the end. This would create, it is currently approximately a 900-foot walkway, pedestrian friendly, that one can take a walk right now uninterrupted from the State Police Barracks, State Police Courtyard, on through the giant parking lot with very little car-centric interruptions. This is the modern planning technique of pedestrian-friendly shop area. If you can do this, then you create incentive for the investor and or property owner to convert that strip lined with shops, perhaps restaurants, along that pedestrian-friendly Pike Peak Promenade. The investor gets the return on it by expanding his leasable space on his property, and the parking can be taken up by a parking structure. This will lead to, old-fashioned terms, a pedestrian-friendly mall. We call it the promenade. And in order to entice investors, the first step, as they a picture's worth 1,000 words, is the creation of an artist illustration, artist visualization of what that would look like to a potential investor. With that visualization, it becomes a more productive and more efficient pitch to potential investors to be interested in being investors. So what the subcommittee has recommended is that we engage in obtaining an artist, an architect, someone who is skilled and has the equipment to produce such a rendering that would envision what this promenade would look like once developed. One of the features of the promenade would be a courtyard at the current parking lot of the First Watch property that might have benches and a fountain, et cetera, and be very, very, very attractive. I was able to obtain the services of a young man who is not a professional architect, but who had computer capability of producing a small rendering, not a very high level or high quality rendering, of just a section of the First Watch property that exhibits that courtyard that I think was in the attachments to the subcommittee's proposal. So we are simply asking for the of the DC to get this process of done. Thank you.
I am sorry. It seems like Alex just lost power. Larry, do you think you can take over?
Sorry, did you say Larry? And
Yeah, I
what
was just saying that Alex has lost power, and I was just wondering if you could take over since you are part of the organization subcommittee.
Yeah, sure. So well, it's opened up for questions now, and I see
Thank
Howard
you.
has his hand raised. Howard, did you want to say something? You're muted.
I didn't realize I was being called on. I think this is a potentially great project. Mel and I spent a lot of time years ago developing this, primarily Mel. However, I question the timing. I think what's most important is the revitalization of the commercial district on Reisterstown Road, those properties on Reisterstown Road. And I'm afraid if this parallel project off Reisterstown Road is developed before or at the same time we're trying to revitalize the businesses on Reisterstown Road, it will impair our ability to do so. And I think that would be fatal because a viable Reisterstown Road is critical to the future sustainability of Pikesville. So, and I know that Mel has put in his proposal a couple of statements that I need to question. And that is using modern planning techniques for a parallel pedestrian-friendly alternative must be considered. I would agree with that, but say at a later point in time. And his last statement in that paragraph is that the focus should be on a new shopping area complementing and supporting nearby properties on Reisterstown Road. I don't think that until the properties on Reisterstown Road are viable, which they are not right now, then I don't think that this project complements and supports it. I think it impairs it. So as much as I think this is worthwhile and we should retain memory of it and not let it fall by the wayside, I think it's premature at this time.
Thank you, Howard, for your thoughts. Tom, I see your hand is raised. You can go ahead.
I very much respect Howard's views, and I expressed the same concern to Mel and others about this vision as well. Having said that, Foley Lane, or the promenade, if you will, is a long-term project. It's years off. And I agree with you that we need to worry a great deal about the existing property owners and business owners on Reisterstown Road. But you have to, in my view, have a vision for what the future can look like. And I think it's critical that we have both near-term and long-term objectives and both near-term and long-term activities. I think additionally, having a proposal and a proposed activity that is going to bring foot traffic and traffic into the area will only make the current business district healthier rather than less healthy. Well, you know, because they're going to do that other stuff. I think any developer is going to look on this as an and not an either or. That's all.
Thank you, Tom. Kristen, you can go ahead, and then Jason will go to you. So, Kristen.
A quick question, Mel. In the proposal, the cost for this rendering is a theoretical zero. What does that mean? Can you explain?
Well, all these things are estimated guesses at cost, as has been indicated by the county office that those will be adjusted, even the original proposal that you presented, Kristen. So that remains to be seen. What I suspected was if we needed to hire a high-level professional, it would cost perhaps as much as $5,000. But there are architectural colleges all over the place, and perhaps we can entice one of those colleges to supply faculty and or students to in fact produce such a rendering. And that's fine with me. I'd be happy to solicit them. I'd be more than happy to solicit high-level professionals. In fact, I already have begun that process of soliciting high-level professionals. So I trust that answers your question. So theoretically, it could be zero.
Okay, but I guess then the county's willing that if it is higher,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah, and it is just the start as your project is, and it is somewhat long-term. And however, I point out that in the legislation, action item 9, in the adopted legislation, explore the development of retail-focused pedestrian walkway from the state police courtyard through Foley Lane, and the time frame is starting fiscal 23. So that responds to a bit of that, and so that's that.
Thank you. Jason, you can go ahead.
Yeah, hi. I just originally just wanted somebody who had the capacity to share the rendering that Mel had attached to the proposal. I don't know if Larry could do it so everyone could see the rendering that he had. I think that would help, illustrate what the proposal was. And the other thing I was going to say too is sometimes you have to think big, and sometimes people, want new. They want, you want to create a new commercial activity, and then the other ones will follow. I mean, look at the Owens Mills Town Center. That's new, and they created something new. And sometimes that's what the tenants want. They want new. They don't want the old existing stuff. So I think that it may contribute to the revitalization of the corridor to have something new in there.
Okay, thank you, Jason. If we have no other questions or comments, then we can hear the subcommittee's recommendation for this worksheet. Larry, if you want to go ahead and share that with us. Oh, sorry, 1 second. Mel, go ahead. I didn't see your hand. Sorry.
A little more amplification. This was all done when Howard and I visited Bethesda, and we saw how that was accomplished. And we can't copy Bethesda, but we certainly use it as a model. Redevelop places with a pedestrian friendly. Second, with regards to the existing commercial, they are more than happy to participate and revitalize all they want. And the last I looked, competition's a good thing. So this creates a whole new atmosphere, can in fact improve the businesses that currently are on Reisterstown Road. Competition is a good thing. New is a good thing. Pedestrian friendly is a good thing. And all the subcommittee is requesting basically is the same thing. Get started, the imprimatur to start exploring, producing such a rendering so that it can be pitched to potential investors and the county.
Okay, thank you, Mel. Larry, are you ready with the subcommittee recommendation? Oh,
Sure. So
Howard, did you want to say
I'm sorry.
something, or can we go on to Larry? Howard, I see your hand is raised. I wasn't sure if you want to say something.
Yeah, Alex, maybe you can answer this, or anybody else. What, if any, plans do we have or can we develop for the rehabilitation and revitalization of the businesses on Reisterstown Road? Or is the chamber doing that? Are there any plans to do that at all? Or are we just leaving them to their own devices?
I mean, I think that the approach in the action plan is more of a holistic approach, isn't necessarily super directed in the way that you're asking your question. I think it's a good question. And I invite you to maybe ask it at the end of the meeting if we have time to address it before the end of the meeting. But I do feel like it is kind of going off track from this current worksheet. So if we could focus on the worksheet for now, and if you could save your question for after the meeting or for the next meeting, or even by email, I'd be happy to exchange on that with you, Howard. Thank you. Okay, Larry, go ahead.
Okay, so I'm going to paste this in the chat and then I'll just read it to everybody. So the organization subcommittee recommends that the APC does not request funding from the county for the rendering redevelopment Pikes Peak Promenade project.
Okay, thank you,
And of
Larry.
course- Sure.
Yeah, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. Does anyone have any questions? Okay, if not, then would someone like to make a motion to recommend the Pikes Peak Promenade worksheet to the Department of Planning for the use of county funds?
So moved.
Thank you. Do we have a second? Thank you. So the question then is on the adoption of that motion. So if everyone can use the chat, indicate yes if you're in favor and no if you're against. Thank you.
Alex,
Yep. Oh, you're on mute, Tom.
we are voting to either recommend or not recommend going forward with this. We are not voting on the organizational committee's recommendation.
That's
Oh, yeah.
correct. So you're voting yes to recommend this project to the Department of Planning. So
Thank
in
you.
favor of the project. Okay, thanks.
Alex,
Yep.
my apologies. I'm confused. Are we voting for submitting
Who is-
the promenade or against it?
So in the chat right now, you're voting yes, which is in favor of the promenade, or no, which is against the project. Does that clarify things?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. Sorry, give me 1 second. I'm just doing the calculation. Is Jim still with us? Jim, I didn't get your vote on this one. You want to put it in the chat to my name? Jim, is that working for you? Yeah, you're on mute.
I have voted.
Oh, I don't see it in the chat. So if you want to make sure that,
Well, isn't it in the box below everyone?
yeah, just make sure, click on everyone and have it say my name. Find my name and then click on my name.
Is that it?
Yeah, and then write down in the chat, type up your vote. So either yes or no for the Pikes Peak Promenade project.
I've done that, but I'll do it again.
Thank you.
There now? Is it there now?
No, I still don't see it.
Well, I don't get it. I mean, should it be in the same box with the word everyone?
Yeah, so it's actually the box right below that. You want to click in there and then type up your answer.
I've done
And then
that.
hit enter.
You see where it says type your message here?
Okay, I just got it, everyone. Everyone got it.
Got it?
Yeah. Okay, so one sec. Okay, so the motion carries. We have 7-5 for the Pikes Peak Promenade project. So Mel, do you wanna, the next worksheet for the Economic Vitality Project is the Armory murals?
All righty. Let me, my notes together again. You have the proposal before you, and I'll just start up. You have the written proposal for you with enough detail in current context, so allow me to expand it with a narrative. In that submittal, I didn't want to burden you all with an avalanche of language. This proposal of the Economic Subcommittee comports with observations Howard and I had together, individuals to very challenged commercial redevelopment areas. Not one of those successes, whether it's Baltimore, Bethesda, Asheville, Laguna Beach, Pearl Street, etc., has achieved success with their revitalization without one of two elements. The two elements are either waterfront or artwork. The very brief summary of both of this proposal is asking again the imprimatur of the PrAP committee, without agreeing to all the cross T's or dot I's, as Kristen alluded to in her submission, and submitted to the county. It is a reality that the county will evaluate them, accept them, reject them, or adjust them. Point out the success of a similar imprimatur had on Neville's efforts with the SHA. Every single one of these 6 proposals are worthy, valuable, and comport with the overall goals established in the legislation. Every proposal should be submitted to the county for evaluation. As a side note, I'll point out that combine every one of these valid 6 proposals and the best at budget fits generally in that $251,000 available. The availability of that Armory site is a unique opportunity that Howard and I discovered in 2013. This opportunity cannot be missed. The property contains enough locations for critical mass of artwork to serve as the magnet drawing shoppers and diners and visitors into Pikesville to in fact serve as a potential catalyst to transform the entire commercial district. In order to accomplish that, a first step, getting permission from the current property owners, has been in other issues, to have an arts expert visit the site, evaluate and make recommendations on how much and the location of such artwork. The very first step, and that's what this proposal is to get an imprimatur from the PrAP committee. The value has been agreed on this concept. The value of this concept has been agreed to by everyone participating in this effort. Even the PF agrees to the value. Arts experts Howard and I consulted, among them Mac McClure, success in arts redevelopment, and Martin Inozola, renowned expert in historic redevelopment, agreed with the concept. Every document created on the use of the Armory supports this concept. over 100 personal interactions. From our formal report of 2016 to the county, to letters from arts experts, to County Executive Oshesky, to the former Jewish Council, to County Council adopted legislation. In fact, the legislation, the chart for this prep committee on page 1 of the legislation under goals is to quote, implement the plan. Next, in action items 1F, G, and H, artwork at the Armory is to be given special consideration so we can brand that site. I also point action item number 11 in the third column. It lists community stakeholders as quote, partners, end quote, not merely advisory, but treated as quote, partners. Finally, the state armory bond legislation in writing describes what the state money shall be used for. It includes quote, artwork in quote, initial phases of the redevelopment. What this proposal asks, and it would be helpful to have, is the imprimatur of this committee with the general concept of the proposal, not endorsement of every cross T, nor dotted I, penny requested. I point out that, as I mentioned, every document ever written supports the concept. The legislation supports the concept. Every consultant who has weighed in supports the concept. Every piece of community input supports the concept. This subcommittee is asking similar support of that. County will determine how much money gets spent, when it gets spent, and on what. We'll either accept it, reject it, or adjust the proposal. The subcommittee humbly asks for your helpful imprimatur. I think Deb might want to weigh in here. She was indicating some, I don't know if I'm speaking out of turn, but that's my presentation.
All right, thank you, Mel. Does anyone have any questions for Mel or any comments they'd like to make? Jack, you can go ahead.
All right, had to unmute myself. I understand the proposal, and as representative of the Armory Foundation, this can't happen at this time for a number of reasons. Alex, can I share my screen?
Sure, go ahead.
I want to show a couple of pictures of the current condition of the garages. Okay, there they are. Here's another shot showing the field at Armory Place. The garage doors, for the most part, are gone. And to replace them, 90 garage doors, $750,000. You would have to do that before you could do anything. The problem is that the current concept, which is being developed by landscape architects, engineers, we have now selected a development partner to work with us, are moving ahead with designs of the garages that look something like this, without the garage doors, without the roofs, with open space. There will be art on the back walls of the garages. Again, understand that these are planning documents, not final drawings. But when you go back to looking at this and you say, you're going to put art back there, there's no way to get to it because the back is fenced off. It's dangerous to be back there. You've got spaces with most garages with no doors. Okay. That would be dangerous for people to be back in there. And I don't know why we would throw money at a project that is going to change drastically over the next couple of years as it's developed into something that looks like this, to be able to do anything with it right now. That's all. I mean,
Thank you, Jack.
yep.
Kristen, I see your hand is raised. You can go ahead. Thanks, Jack.
Thank you, Mel, for that presentation, and thank you, Jack, as well. I like the idea of your idea, Mel, of art as a critical mass or something like that. But with this particular spot, you have explicit non-permission from the state, from the foundation. It would be difficult. How could you move forward? All of these projects need permission, or at least the unknown, but you have explicit non-permission. I don't understand how this can move forward.
Mel, do you want to go ahead and respond?
Sure, sure, I can respond to that one specifically. Thank you very much for recognizing, again, everybody recognizes the value, even the Pikesville Armory Foundation recognized the value of a critical mass of murals. With regards to permission, right now, the state of Maryland is the property owner. It is ostensibly to be transferred to the Pikesville Armory Foundation. That has not occurred, despite the fact that there was a memorandum, so to speak, of understanding, I'm using that word very loosely, over 2 years ago, that the property would transfer. It has not transferred yet. So therefore, I have no understanding that the state, we've never requested the state to have access. But I'm requesting, and I appreciate everybody's validation that this is valuable. So because it's valuable, it needs to get started. And the starting point is to have an expert go back there and evaluate that. Yes, many of the doors are destroyed, but I will remind everyone that the proposal does not limit murals to those garage doors. Locations in the Armory property. Jack has already alluded to the back walls of those garages once they're done. That's fine. But let's get an evaluation. And I am perfectly willing to have the subcommittee act as partners, as it indicates action item 11. I look forward to that. So perhaps there's someone that could come up with some common ground, considering everybody recognize the value of this critical mass of art could have on the transformation of Pikesville. Again, special consideration for artwork at the Armory, action item 1. So it all reinforces it. Every document reinforces it. I think that this rendering that Jack has just again exhibited, I hope we'll have a record of this one. Is that correct, Alex? By the way?
Yeah, the meeting is being recorded.
The last time that the foundation presented, unfortunately, those presentations and renderings were not able to be located. So I'd love to be able to have a long look at it, and everybody would. So again, what this is asking for is a first step to ask for permission to have an art expert go back and evaluate that site for the potential of locating artwork on that site. So that responds to some of that question.
Thank you, Mel. Howard, and then Jack, you can go ahead after.
When Mel originally suggested this years ago, and I was with him and supported it because some of those garage doors were up then, and we had in mind the painting on those existing doors. Now, I don't know that all of them are down, but more of them are down. And the plans have changed since this was originally proposed, and the landscape architects who have developed the plans have abandoned plans for most of those 90 garages, which Mel says that there are currently 90 doors, and there are in his proposal, and I don't know that there are any. So that's a major problem, I would think. But the main question that I want to raise is one of jurisdiction. I'm not sure that PrEP has jurisdiction over anything that's going to happen at the Armory. That's the Pikesville Armory Foundation's jurisdiction. And my understanding is that the line of demarcation between these two organizations is pretty clear. we're to keep our hands off the Armory. I feel frustrated at many times about that because I and all of us, I think, care so much about what happens at the Armory. But in truth, that is the foundation's job, their jurisdiction, and not ours. They have gone so far in places that we aren't even aware. And this may very well be in conflict with their plans. And in which case, we're creating a big problem if we support this through PrEP. So I'm afraid I have to suggest that we not support this, or that we cannot support this because it's not within our jurisdiction.
Thank you, Howard. Jack, if you want to go ahead.
Yeah, basically understand that the Armory Foundation is spending hundreds of thousands of dollars on landscapers, landscape architects. We are working closely with the Maryland Historic Trust in all of this. And if we did any work prior to all of that getting through its process and the MHT approving any of it, we'd be just throwing out money, because the landscape architects, the building architects, the engineers that are going to evaluate the structural stability of the garages are the ones that are going to determine where we go, not an art consultant. Also, the military department of the state of Maryland tells me that 80% of those garage doors are either gone or unusable. And even if we did something with them, the back of the property is fenced off, so there's no way to get to them.
Okay, thank you, Jack. Kristen, you can go ahead, and then Tom.
Yes, I agree with Howard. There's so many obstacles for this project to go forward. As much as there will be art at the Armory, but just not in this context. In this context, you are trying to facilitate art on things that are non-existent, which are the doors, and all of the garages are under the Maryland Historic Trust, which is a huge other hurdle you have to go through to do it properly. So this just is a project that's full of dead ends, and it's just difficult to get through.
Thank you, Kristen. Tom, you can go ahead.
I am not so much concerned about garage doors. I think the garage doors are a symptom. Mel may not like that, but the garage doors are a symptom. And what I heard Howard say is what gives me chills. The concept that the revitalization of Pikesville and the Pikesville Revitalization Committee and the Armory are two separate activities, that somehow this committee has no jurisdiction over that, or no involvement in that jurisdiction, is really concerning to me. We have time and again made the comment, and I think Jack, I'm not going to put words in his mouth, but he'll probably agree, that of all the activities in making Pikesville improve, the Armory is the diamond in the rough. It's a diamond in the back. It is the single most important element that will bring change, other than Foley Lane, but Foley Lane is even further away, if you will, that can breathe change into Pikesville. And this committee is charged with improving Pikesville. So somehow the jurisdiction question needs to be addressed a little bit differently, I think. I respect Jack's comment. I respect Kristen's comment about the difficulty and the complex activity that this involves, particularly at this moment. But perhaps more conversation and more discussion about what really we are talking about and how the foundation moves forward in involving this committee is critical. Thank you.
Thank you, Tom. Thank you. So we have 3 minutes left to the meeting. Time passed by quite quickly. So if we're ready to, okay, Mel, 1 second. So if we're ready to hear Larry's recommendation, we'll then go to a vote. So Mel, if you want to say one last thing before we do that, if you can make it quick.
Very, very important thing, and Tom was right on the button. Send chills up my spine too, that we are sending the legislation in the goals says the action plan committee will implement the plan, quote unquote. In action item number 11, it does finance, program, and redevelop historic Pikesville Armory in accordance with the mission statement established by the Governor's Commission to study the future of the Pikesville Armory. Lead contributors, Pikesville Armory Foundation. The third column says community stakeholders as partners, end quote. We've got to define that partners. It is clearly stated, the action plan committee is mentioned 6 times as a contributor and participant. The action plan says the action plan committee will implement the plan. This armory is part of the plan. We should be an active participant. We are not dictating to anyone. We are merely asking for the opportunity to explore this project. As far as access to the back of that property, once you take those steps, you can get access. And if in fact there's a vent back there, and if in fact it is improved enough, you can get access for a day-long event with his artwork as a backdrop.
Okay, thank you, Mel. So Larry, if we can hear the organization subcommittee's recommendation, I'm sorry, everyone, it looks like we're gonna have to stay over just a couple minutes, if that's okay with everyone. Larry, go ahead.
Sure. So I just pasted it in the chat for everyone. So the organization subcommittee recommends that the APC does not request funding from the county for the Pikesville Armory murals project.
Okay, thank you, Larry. Does anyone have any questions? So if not, will someone like to make a motion to recommend the Pikesville Armory murals? Sorry, someone speaking?
Yeah, Howard. I've had my hand up.
Oh, sorry, I didn't see you.
Just a quickie, and it may be something that we need to defer to a future meeting, but I'm concerned about the difference of opinion on jurisdictional question. Alexa, can you offer any clarification of what our role is so far as the Armory is concerned versus the foundation, or is that something we need to put off to discuss at a future meeting?
I think that's a larger conversation for a future meeting. I do think it's a good conversation to have. Yeah, I'm sorry, I don't know that we can directly address that right now.
Okay.
But thank you for your question, Howard. All right, so would someone like to make a motion to recommend the Pikesville Armory worksheet to the Department of Planning for the use of county funds?
So
So
moved.
moved and seconded.
Second, great, thank you. So the question is on the adoption of this motion. We can just follow the chat. So yes, if you are in favor of recommending this worksheet to the Department of Planning, and no if you are not.
It was the 5th vote.
Is Bonnie still with us? Bonnie, I don't see your vote in the chat. I'll give you a quick minute to enter it. So Bonnie, we're voting on whether or not to recommend the Armory Murals worksheet to the Department of Planning for the use of county funds. So yes, if you are in favor of this, and no, if you are not. Jim, I also still don't see your vote. Sorry about that. And those are the two that I'm missing.
There are votes in the chat to everyone. Some people voted to everyone, so you need to check that.
Yeah, I see everything. Thank you. Jim, still missing yours.
Yeah, I've put it in there.
I don't see it too.
Really?
Yeah.
I enter it in the bottom box, right?
And who does it say in the 2 box?
Pardon?
The box above where you typed it, who does it say it's to?
Alexandra.
Yeah, that's me. And then where it says
Yeah.
enter the chat message here, you got to click there and type yes or no.
Type message here. That's what you're looking for.
Yeah, and then there's an arrow to the right of where you're typing that you have to hit to send it.
Right. Or press enter. That should work too.
Do it.
No. Oh, there we go. Wonderful.
Got it?
Yeah, we got it on the last one. Okay, so 1 second. All right, so the motion fails. We have 9 against and 4 that are for it. So we still had the 2 other worksheets, the grounds maintenance ones, the poles, banners, and facades.
I think I have to leave.
Yeah, I think
It's 8:30.
we're kind of at the end of the meeting. We also don't have Beth here. I would have liked for her to be here to present them, to answer any questions, although I certainly could have helped out with that. So I'll kind of figure out whether
who was Mark?
I'm sorry,
was Mark?
I'm speaking. I'm speaking, Mel. Thank you. So we'll see whether we want to bring that to the next APC meeting or not. I'll circle back with everyone. I just wanted to quickly just cover some next steps before we wrap up. So next step for these projects that were voted on and recommended to planning will review these. And as Gane updated everyone, we're working with the chamber on fiscal sponsorship and also on a project manager position. So hopefully we'll have some news within the next few weeks to share with you all. And then I have as a tentative next meeting, I just wanted to let everyone know, February 27th from 7 to 8:30 p.m. I'll confirm with everyone by email. That's the last Monday of the month, which is what we've kind of been doing. If for whatever reason there's like a community meeting that interferes with that, I know there was a big community meeting tonight. Don't hesitate to give me a heads up. I can find a better date. I want to make sure that everyone can participate as best as possible. So with that said, I want to thank you all for being here tonight, and we'll keep in touch. Have a good night, everyone. And I'll send the results by email so everyone has a record of it.
Thank you, Alex. Thank you.
Thanks, Alex.
Thank you.
Bye. Take care.